Please welcome to the stage from Lightyear Head of Design, Kish Patel.
Hello, hello. I can smell the beer already for the after party. So this is the last segment. Yeah, really grateful to be here. So yeah, thanks to the George team for the invite, and thank you to all of you for your warm welcome. Let's just get into it, shall we? So this is me. Um, it's my background. I've spent the last decade designing, I would call it emerging consumer fintech. So back in 2014, first designer at TransferWise, quite an experience, many stories to tell you later, to being head of design here at Lightyear. Um, I've been hands-on throughout it all, and I've really, I think I've got quite a nice talk for you today to talk about the craft and yeah, like how we're building Lightyear and how we're failing as we go. For those that don't know, Lightyear is an investing app. We kind of spoke a lot about these. It was founded in October 2020 and launched 2021, just like a couple months before I joined. And yeah, I joined because these two really ambitious founders who I was working with at Wise were, had this really absurd goal to fix investing in Europe and uh, build this really intuitive and delightful way to invest without any barriers or fees. And I think it's going pretty well. And today, I guess I'm going to share, we're going to take a bit of a look at the design work that didn't make it, the work that died in a crate or got cut to pieces by compliance, or preemptively put out to pasture by the designer themselves. So it's a funny thing being a designer. Uh, yeah, you try and understand the problem and come up with a solution or multiple solutions. You present it back to your team, back to your peers, and maybe you have an off day doing it and you fuck that up, and you try and get feedback on it. They hate it. They just don't see how right I am, and then you iterate on that feedback and you try and kind of maybe you need to start over, get more feedback, probably show it to customers, and at the last minute it gets scoped down, whoosh, and then you ship it, I guess. And there you have it, that bit at the end. It's all everyone cares about. They celebrate it. They write blog posts about it. They do really serious design talks about how it really works and how you. Yeah, but to me, there is much to learn here, but I feel like there's way more to learn in this part. So I'm really going to spend time here and not really talk about the process. I wouldn't say that there is a perfect design process or that designers at Lightyear have their shit together. I would say that things don't work perfectly, and I just really want to talk about these dead ends, these bits that get cut, and these ideas that had a lot of care put into them, but throughout the process were discarded. They were laid to rest. Now, I'm a bit late, rather, with the whole Halloween theme, but I think I could have taken this to the maximum, but I didn't. But thank you, AI, for this beautiful image. So let's get into it. The first gravestone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to a few of the gravestones at our graveyard, and hopefully, give you a bit of insight into what happened and why they died and so on. So on the subject of AI, let's talk about this first project. So the customer insight is at Lightyear, a portion of our customers on a daily basis spend time browsing the news. They're trying to figure out, and they do this on in the morning. They're trying to figure out why the market is moving, and they're doing this to really see if there's a trend or a story that could kind of tie into an investment opportunity. Not that they act on this stuff daily, but they're really just trying to stay plugged in. And so the high level idea was, is there a way to do this inside of Lightyear? So they're not using, multiple news apps or paying for their FT subscription. There's a way to do this inside of Lightyear. And the idea was very simple. Find a top story that multiple sources are mentioning. And on the 23rd of October, 2023, when I started working on this, this was the big story. It was this like big crusty oil company getting bought by another one. And so, I like to use like real data in my work. So it was the high level idea was give this to like a large language model, let it ingest it, and let it summarize the story. And playing around, getting an OpenAI key and trying to like pumping all this data into it. This was like one of the outputs. And try and show it to a customer, dress it up in some nice UI and show it to the customer. And we built out a prototype. I was pretty happy with it. Here we're like seeing a bunch of summarization happening. If there's a video, it would like we're giving it YouTube links as well, so it would find like a really high quality video. It would show the user like what articles it's summarizing it from. It would also be aware of the maybe the stocks that are being mentioned and have ways to link to them, and some competitors maybe. So I was pretty happy with it as a concept. But there were two problems. There was two quite big ones. One is that the quality of our news content is quite inconsistent. So we have a news API which is very cheap, or I think it might be free, but I think it's very cheap. And like the kind of content that you get from it is SEO like rubbish, basically. Top 3 stocks, or here's what Warren Buffett has in his portfolio that you might not know of. It's really, really bad. So it was quite unreliable at generating the content that we wanted consistently. And the other is, if you want to do it properly and you want to get really great content, the republishing rights like cost a lot of money and time. And as a young startup, two things that are like quite scarce, I would say. So there was only one thing for it, at least for the time being. It had to die. Moving on. So the next one, I think a lot of you are going to empathize with this one. This is one of thousands of great ideas that were just butchered when they were shown to compliance. So this poor soul is related to our referral program. Invite a person, get rewarded kind of thing. And it was the run up to Christmas, and we wanted to like try out this gift giving concept. Gift a stock to your friends. And this was kind of the campaign, right? We're feeling festive. We'll give your friend like £20 worth of whatever stock you want. It's Christmas spirit and all that. But this problem kind of emerged, which was how does the customer decide which stock to give? Do we decide? Do we make some suggestions? Is that financial advice? Do we have permissions to do that? And so kind of like the high level idea after this kind of, after like thinking about that a bit was, like, what if we just randomize it somehow? So, okay, this was like one of the concepts, and it was like a magic 8-ball. You kind of like shake your phone, and it like tells you, hey, your friend would like some of this. But there was a problem, a really, really big one. The exact week I was working on it, the FCA, the UK's financial regulator, put out some guidance. Now, when the regulator put out guidance, it's not really like best practice. It's kind of like, do what we fucking say. And it was around like this amending trend of gamification in investing apps. And in not so many words, they were cracking down on any UI that could resemble mechanics of a game or anything remotely fun or engaging. So, just like that, dead on arrival. I've got more. Have you ever designed something that you came back to later and thought, did I really do that? This is really bad. Like, did I actually do this? It normally happens when I like quickly do something on a Friday and I like wake up to it on a Monday. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. So Lightyear, alongside investing in stocks and ETFs, it also allows you to hold multiple currencies. And the last couple of years, interest has been a big part of finance, right? Of holding cash. So yeah, you can earn interest in multiple currencies. And we do this nice thing up top where we kind of like summarize all of your different currencies in your local currency, right? So here I can say I've got 496 euros based on like the current exchange rate. But what if we did this for interest, right? You see this little number over here? Is it the average? No, it doesn't really make sense to be the average if you've got different amounts in different currencies. So I came up with this thing called the weighted rate, which is the average of all the funds like weighted by how much you've got in them. And it's essentially calculated like so, where you multiply the amount by the rate, and then you total them, and then you divide it by the total cash, and then that's Monday over there. And I think you probably know what's going to happen. It was gone. I think it's probably ahead of its time. But I think like what's important to note there is the preemptive killing of an idea by oneself, rather than like putting it through the gauntlet and getting your team to review it. And I think that happens quite a lot with myself. I don't know about you, where you kind of second guess what feedback you might get, and then you maybe just, avoid confrontation and go with something a bit easier to present. This next one, though, is about killing an idea that deserves it. Sometimes I get requests. So I should say that Lightyear is a design team of 2 people, myself and Laura, and we get a lot of requests that sound a bit weird. So, for example, one that we got a while back was, look, Kish, we need some humanness to our website, some feeling that there are real people using this thing. It's really like baked in to people's lives, and it's having like a real, there's just people. There's no human connection, and the problem with this idea is that, I don't know about you, but this is, when I look at kind of different fintechs websites, there seems to be this pattern, this kind of lack of brand expression, where we just kind of find a stock image of people and just whack it into the product because we want some kind of feeling to be there. And I think it's a bit of a shame, and it kind of erodes like a lot of the quality and the brand trust that we're trying to create. And so I guess I have entertained a couple of these requests, but I'm too afraid of losing my designer street cred on stage. So I've buried them way deep in here. And maybe later I'll show you some on my phone. But maybe let's talk a bit about why do designs die? I think reality is that they, all of the reasons. I think there's too many to name, and these are just some of them, and I've just shown a small sample of them. And I'm sure many of you have learned to accept this. Maybe it's still kind of quite frustrating, but I think if you are, I guess at a startup, it's kind of like part and parcel. It's part of the role, and then there's a reason why a lot of us older designers are, we look quite broken and haggard. It's part of the role, I guess. So what are the lessons? What are the takeaways? I think the first is that your work is at constant peril. So this is the obvious one. The first one, the uninformed explorer, the compliance casualty, are 2 of many. This is probably the most common, right? You put your work out there, and there are, and you're forming an idea, a solution, and you're sharing it over and over, and you're getting random thoughts, and you digest the feedback, and it really changes from what you initially set out to do. And I think there's no escape from that. The second is kind of related to the third idea, which is don't do the killing. I think that weighted interest idea isn't maybe not the best example, but maybe it could work. And we'll never know, though, because I killed it before it could really be interrogated. So how many times have you preemptively killed an idea? Normally it's something that you thought it wouldn't be technically possible, but if you share the work, maybe it won't just live in your head. And the last one, I think this is quite like, I don't think I really fully formed this thought, and I'm hoping that a few of you will finish the thought for me afterwards. But I think that whilst in my career, like design started as this lipstick on the pig that was mentioned, this kind of visual, make it look pretty kind of thing. And we really fought to be problem solvers. We really like transformed the way that design is looked at in software companies into problem solvers. But I think part of that journey has meant that making it visually exciting and interesting has been kind of forgotten about. And if I can say one thing to leave this is that we are still tastemakers. We are still visual people. If no one is going to make it look sexy, then I don't think anyone will. So I don't really have an end slide, but I would love to hear your thoughts on this one later on. And yeah, we'll leave it there. You can find me on Twitter at the Kish Patel and on LinkedIn. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kish. It's super interesting. We rarely ever get to see these failed projects. Let's start with a light question. Have you ever revisited some of these buried concepts? Did you ever CPR some of them, bring them back to life, or they're really dead forever? For sure not the stock pictures.
Lightyear's we're quite a young company, so it's hard to say. And also I have this habit, which is really bad, of just deleting it. Like there's something quite pleasurable about pressing backspace and it just evaporating when you don't like it. So I'm doing better. Like now we always create like an archive page, and we just always send to archive, so we always we're able to search for it. But currently, there's nothing I can think of that's been resurrected today.
So then you probably did the right thing.
Yeah.
Another question that people are super curious: how is the communication around these failed designs or failed projects in your company? Are you communicating this? Is this bottom up, top down? How does this work?
I would say it's part of designing a feature where as you go, you're discarding stuff. Things are just like, hopefully going to this archive page through and it was similar to Revolut, we do this weekly cadence of sharing. So it's like pretty quick feedback to really shape a product in a different way. But actually, the idea for this talk came from like a more mini version that we did in our all hands, and I was like just sharing. Me and Laura were just sharing like 50 things, or like I can't remember how many things that we designed and just never went anywhere. And yeah, it's a culture of like just trying and making, and really treating design as like sandcastles that are going to get washed away. There isn't really much preciousness to the way that we do things.
All right. Do we have questions in the audience? Yes, please. And I like this idea that you're not so precious with the design. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I think graveyard's a bit harsh. I prefer the term fridge, keep it fresh, and come back and maybe eat it later. But are a lot of your ideas that get thrown away, are they rooted in solving a problem or capturing an opportunity?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I don't really have. I still have to work on like the most important stuff for the company. So they do form. Like that first example seems pretty radical, but what we were trying to do was like redesign our explore page. So it's not so much of like an e-commerce experience where you're like browsing investments by category, but it's it's trying to be. Well, it's trying to mimic how people are finding about investment opportunities outside of the platform. They are reading the news. So that's kind of like the key insight was like, let's try and figure out how to do this from a news-first approach as opposed to listing all the different investments by category or by industry. Didn't really go anywhere though, and that project got put in the fridge for now. Yeah.
Good. All right, everybody, give it up for Kish, please. Thank you.